놓고 시작합시다. 레슨 3예요. 두 번째에서 봅시다 그랬는데 사실 그게 두 번째 비디오였죠? 네, 연결해서 봅시다.
The World on Loneliness, an incredible man named Professor John Cacioppo, who was at Chicago, and I thought a lot about one question his work poses to us. So Professor Cacioppo asked, why do we exist? Why are we here? Why are we alive? One key reason is that our ancestors on the savannas of Africa were really good at one thing. They weren't bigger than the animals they took down a lot of the time. They weren't faster than the animals they took down a lot of the time, but they were much better at banding together into groups and cooperating. This was our superpower as a species. We band together. Just like bees evolved to live in a hive, humans evolved to live in a tribe. And we are the first humans ever to disband our tribes. And it is making us feel awful. But it doesn't have to be this way. One of the heroes in my book, and in fact in my life, is a doctor named Sam Everington. He's a general practitioner in a poor part of East London where I lived for many years. And Sam was really uncomfortable because he had loads of patients coming to him with terrible depression and anxiety. And like me, he's not opposed to chemical antidepressants. He thinks they give some relief to some people.
네, 그래서
But
길게
he could
설명을
see
하고
two things.
있습니다.
Firstly, his patients were depressed and anxious a lot of the time for totally understandable reasons. Like, first time this group met, Lisa literally started vomiting with anxiety. It was so overwhelming for her. But people rubbed her back, the group started talking. They were like, what could we do? These are inner city East London people like me. They didn't know anything about gardening. They were like, why don't we learn gardening? There was an area behind the doctor's offices that was just like scrubland. They were like, why don't we make this into a garden? So they started to take books out of the library. They started to watch YouTube clips. They started to get their fingers in the soil. They started to learn the rhythms of the seasons. There's a lot of evidence that exposure to the natural world is a really powerful antidepressant. But they started to do something even more important. They started to form a tribe. They started to form a group.
이제 혼자가 아니라고 느끼게 되게 만드는 거죠. 요즘 같은 시대에 이제 요즘 같은 상황에 더 많은 학생 여러분들 가족들이 이제 이런 부분에 관해서 많이 고생을 하고 있을 거라는 생각이 들어요. 여러분들은 이런 고생 안 했으면 좋겠는데 매일 집에 있고 사람 안 만나고 할 일은 태산이고 뭐 이러기 시작하면 이제 점점 무기력해지겠죠. 그래서 아까 캄보디아에서 한국 의자가 뭐였어요? 소죠, 소. 그 상황을 바꿔준 거예요. 근데 그 상황을 그냥 바꿔준 게 아니라 상대방이 충분히 이해를 하고 바꿔줬다고 이제 느끼게 되게 만든 거죠, 환자에게. 여러분들은 어떠십니까? 여러분들은 여러분들 문제를 어떻게 해결하세요? 남이 그냥 알아주기 원합니까? 그래서 보통 감정을 표현할 때 그냥 짜증나, 화가 나 이 정도로만 표현을 하나요? 구체적으로 어떤 점이 섭섭했고 이런 걸 따지고 보자면 이제 상대방이 많이 거부하겠죠. 익숙하지 않으니까. 네. 그래서 여러분들이 그룹을 만들어서 집단이 이루기 시작한 거예요. 라는 것부터 이제 쭉 지나가 보면 이 그룹의 사람들은 이제 정원에서 꽃이 피우기 시작하면서 이제 우리 조금씩 괜찮아지는구나 라고 이제 알았다는 얘기죠. 자, 여기 부분 중요합니다. 한번 들어봅시다.
One day I remember standing in the garden that Lisa and her once depressed friends had built. It's a really beautiful garden. And having this thought, it's very much inspired by a guy called Professor Hugh Mackay in Australia. I was thinking, so often when people feel down in this culture, what we say to them, I'm sure everyone here said it, I have, is we say, you just need to be you, be yourself. And I realized actually what we should say to people is, don't be you. Don't be yourself. Be us. Be we. Be part of a group. The solution to these problems does not lie in drawing more and more on your resources as an isolated individual. That's partly what got us into this crisis. It lies on reconnecting with something bigger than you. And that really connects to one of the other causes of depression and anxiety that I wanted to talk to you about. So everyone knows Junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick. I don't say that with any sense of superiority. I literally came to give this talk from McDonald's. But I saw all of you eating that healthy TED breakfast. I was like, no way. But just like junk food has taken over our diets and made us physically sick, a kind of junk values have taken over our minds and made us mentally sick. For thousands of years, philosophers have said,
좋은 음식이 입안에 있다. 뭐 좋죠. 근데 썩은 음식이, 상한 음식이 또는 정크푸드, 멀쩡해도 먹으면 몸에 무리가 가는 음식들이 나에게 있다. 라면 이것은 치워야겠죠. 누가 여기다 이런 걸 갖다 놨어. 내가 그동안 그런 거 하지 말라 그랬는데. 이런 식으로 이제 원망을 하면서 시간이 지나가다 보면은 그냥 그 음식은 더 점점 썩어요. 그죠? 그래서 청소할 시간을 놓치고 온 집안에 썩은 내가 진동을 하게 되겠죠. 그래서 정크푸드처럼 여러분들의 의식을 병들게 하는 안 좋은 생각들을 반복적으로 한다면 뭐 그렇게 된다라는 얘기 같아요. 우리는 태어났을 때부터 우리 정신에 KFC를 먹게 되고 있는 것이다. 끔찍한 일이죠.
as I thought about this, I realized it's like we've all been fed since birth a kind of KFC for the soul. Right? We've been trained to look for happiness in all the wrong places. And just like junk food doesn't meet your nutritional needs and actually makes you feel terrible, junk values don't meet your psychological needs. And they take you away from a good life. But when I first spent time with Professor Kasser and I was learning all this, I felt a really weird mixture of emotions. Because on the one hand, I found this really challenging. I could see how often in my own life, when I felt down, I tried to remedy it with some kind of show-offy, grand, external solution. And I could see why that did not work well for me. I also thought, isn't this kind of obvious? Isn't this almost like banal, right? If I said to everyone here, none of you are going to lie on your deathbed and think about all the shoes you bought and all the retweets you got, right? You're going to think about moments of love and meaning and connection in your life. I think that seems almost like a cliche, but I kept talking to Professor Kasser and saying, you know, why am I feeling this strange doubleness? And he said, well, at some level, we all know these things, but in this culture, we don't live by them. We know them so well, they become cliches, but we don't live by them. I kept asking, well, why? Why would that be? Why would we know something so profound but not live by it? And after a while, Professor Kasser said to me, because we live in a machine that is designed to get us to neglect what is important about life. I had to really think about that, because we live in a machine that is designed to get us to neglect what is important about life. And Professor Kasser wanted to figure out if we can disrupt that machine. He's done loads of research into this. I'll tell you about one example, and I really urge everyone here to try this with their friends and their family. So with a guy called Nathan Dungan, he got a group of teenagers and adults to come together for a series of sessions over a period of time to meet up. And part of the point of the group was to get people to think about a moment in their life they have actually found meaning and purpose. For different people, it was different things. Some people, it was playing music, writing, helping someone. I'm sure everyone here can picture something, right? And part of the point of the group was to get people to ask, okay, how could you dedicate more of your life to pursuing these moments of meaning and purpose?
뭐 복잡한 얘기처럼 들리지만 여러분들이 언제 가장 여러분들의 가치가 가치 있게 쓰여졌다고, 인생의 목적을 이루었다고 생각하는 순간이 언제일까요? 언제쯤이면 그런 그 피드백들이 멈출까요? 그냥 여러분들이 더 이상 그 사람들과 교류를 안 하면 그만입니다. SNS를 안 하면 사람들이 좋아요 누르는지, 그 사람들이 좋아요 몇 개가 있는지 그런 거를 체크할 필요가 없죠. 남의 상관할 필요가 없어요. 그죠? 그것은 다양한 부분은 화면에도 없어지겠죠.
And less to, I don't know, buying crap you don't need, putting it on social media and trying to get people to go, OMG, so jealous, right? And what they found was just having these meetings, it was like a kind of Alcoholics Anonymous for consumerism, right? Just getting people to have these meetings, articulate these values, determine to act on them, and check in with each other, led to a marked shift in people's values. It took them away from this hurricane of depression-generating messages, training us to seek happiness in the wrong places, and towards more meaningful and nourishing values that lift us out of depression. But with all the solutions that I saw and have written about, and many I can't talk about here, I kept thinking, why did it take me so long to see these insights, right? Because when you explain them to people, I mean, some of them are more complicated, but not all. When you explain them to people, it's not like rocket science, right? At some level, we already know these things. Why do we find it so hard to understand? I think there's many reasons, but I think one reason is that we had to change our understanding of what depression and anxiety actually are. There are very real biological contributions to depression and anxiety. But if we allow the biology to become the whole picture, as I did for so long, as I would argue our culture has done pretty much for most of my life, what we're implicitly saying to people is, and this isn't anyone's intention, but what we're implicitly saying to people is, your pain doesn't mean anything. It's just a malfunction. It's like a glitch in a computer program. It's just a wiring problem in your head. But I was only able to start changing my life when I realized your depression is not a malfunction. It's a signal. Your depression is a signal. It's telling you something. We feel this way for reasons, and they can be hard to see in the throes of depression. I understand that
자,
really well.
우울증이 원인이 아니라 결과로 본 거죠. 그래서 그 결과가 무엇 때문에 생겼는가에 대해서 이제 얘기를 했다는 거예요. 뭐죠? 신호라는 거죠. 몸에 이상이 생겼다, 정신적으로 이상이 생겼다라고 알려주는 그 알람 장치입니다. 그래서 초과상관을 바짝 태워서 없어지는 게 아니라 그냥 연기만 나도 연기를 체크를 하는 거죠. 이유가 없이 무슨 감정을 느낀다는 없어요. 그래서 이유가 있어서 우울감을 느끼는 건데 그 우울증 고통 속에서 잘 보이진 않는다. 그 이유기 조금 더 드셨으면 좋겠어요. 이 고민을. 자, 그걸로 해서 비디오는 이제 마무리를 졌습니다. 이렇게 얘기하면 이제 최악이 되는 거죠.
From personal experience. But with the right help, we can understand these problems and we can fix these problems together. But to do that, the very first step is we have to stop insulting these signals by saying they're a sign of weakness or madness or purely biological, except for a tiny number of people. We need to start listening to these signals because they're telling us something we really need to hear. It's only when we truly listen to these signals and we honor these signals and respect these signals that we're going to begin to see the liberating, nourishing, deeper solutions, the cows that are waiting all around us. Thank you.
멋지네요. 운이법이라고 했나요? 뭐예요, 여기서 젖소는? 캄보디아 농사꾼이 우울증을 극복하기 위해서 받은 항우울제죠. 네, 항우울제가 케미컬 임밸런스로 봐서 약품을 구매하는 게 아니라 본인 이제 네이처와 함께하면서 세상을 돌아다니면서 극복해야 될 대상이 아니라 그냥 그거는 해결해야 될 문제라고 이제 보는 거죠. 발이 한쪽은 회족이고 한쪽은 뭐 정상적인 것이라서 논밭에 들어가면 발이 빠져가지고 너무 일을 할 수가 없어 힘들어 라고 한다면 한쪽 발만 있어도 사실 두 다리 없어도 열심히 일하는 사람 저 사람을 봐 너는 왜 그것밖에 못하니? 라고 하면 최악이겠죠. 최선은 뭐예요? 인사하는 것이고 또 자, 여기서 이제 결론으로 가서 이제 봅시다. 혼자 있는 시간을 어떻게 보내느냐가 정말 중요하다는 얘기가 될 것 같아요. 잘 보내야죠. 어떻게 보내면 잘 보내는 거죠? 어떻게 보내야 잘 보내는 걸까요? 너의 시간이 아니라 우리의 시간이 너의 문제가 아니라 우리의 문제로 너의 해결 방법이 아니라 우리의 해결 방법으로 접근을 한다면 좀 더 괜찮을 것 같다 라는 얘기 한 것 같아요. 두 번째 비디오 연이어서 한번 봅시다.
So I'll start with this. A couple of years ago, an event planner called me because I was going to do a speaking event. And she called and she said, I'm really struggling with how to write about you on the little flyer. And I thought, well, what's the struggle? And she said, well, I saw you speak, and I'm going to call you a researcher, I think, but I'm afraid if I call you a researcher, no one will come because they'll think you're boring and irrelevant. And I was like, okay. And she said, but the thing I liked about your talk is, you're a storyteller. So I think what I'll do is just call you a storyteller. And of course, the academic, insecure part of me was like, you're going to call me a what? And she said, I'm going to call you a storyteller. And I was like, oh, why not Magic Pixie? I was like, let me think about this for a second. And so I tried to call deep on my courage. And I thought, I am a storyteller. I'm a qualitative researcher. I collect stories. That's what I do. And maybe stories are just data with a soul, and maybe I'm just a storyteller. So I said, you know what? Why don't you just say I'm a researcher storyteller? And she went, there's no such thing. So I'm a researcher storyteller. And I'm going to talk to you today. We're talking about expanding perception. And so I want to talk to you and tell some stories about a piece of my research that fundamentally expanded my perception and really actually changed the way that I live and love and work and parent. And this is where my story starts. When I was a young researcher, doctoral student, my first year I had a research professor who said to us, here's the thing, if you cannot measure it, it does not exist. And I thought he was just sweet talking me. I was like, really? And he's like absolutely.
됐어요. 잠깐 얘기를 하고 싶었어요. 뭐라 그랬어요? 측정할 수 없는 것은 존재할 수 없다. 존재하지 않는다. 라고 했다고 하죠. 커넥션에 대한 말이 나오네요. 여기서부터 좀 봅시다.
So where I started was with connection, because by the time you're a social worker for 10 years, what you realize is that connection is why we're here. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. This is what it's all about. It doesn't matter whether you talk to people who work in social justice and mental health and abuse and neglect. What we know is that connection, the ability to feel connected, is neurobiologically, that's how we're wired. It's why we're here. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to start with connection. Well, you know that situation where you get an evaluation from your boss and she tells you 37 things that you do really awesome and one thing that you can't, an opportunity for growth. And all you can think about is that opportunity for growth, right? Well, apparently this is the way my work went as well, because when you ask people about love, they tell you about heartbreak. When you ask people about belonging, they'll tell you their most excruciating experiences of being excluded. And when you ask people about connection, the stories they told me were about disconnection. So very quickly, really about 6 weeks into this research, I ran into this unnamed thing that absolutely unraveled connection in a way that I didn't understand or had never seen. And so I pulled back out of the research and thought, I need to figure out what this is. And it turned out to be shame. And shame is really easily understood as the fear of disconnection. Is there something about me that if other people know it or see it, that I won't be worthy of connection? The things I can tell you about it, it's universal. We all have it. The only people who don't experience shame have no capacity for human empathy or connection. No one wants to talk about it, and the less you talk about it, the more you have it. What underpinned this shame, this I'm not good enough, which we all know that feeling. I'm not blank enough. I'm not thin enough, rich enough, beautiful enough, smart enough.
자, 이렇게 잠깐 집중해서 좀 봤어요. 취약하다는 거, vulnerability, 수치심, shame, 이런 것들에 대해서 이제 이 사람이 인터뷰를 하고 본인 리서치를 한 거에 대해서 말을 하고 있죠. 그리고 거기서 공통점이 뭐래요? 여러분 이거 읽어보세요. 읽어보고 난 다음에 나한테 피드백을 주면 좋겠습니다. 그래서 과제는 여러분들 아까 봤던 그 안티디프레션에 관한 비디오와 그 다음에 vulnerability에 관한 비디오를 보고 이번에 했던 과제와 같이 하세요. 같은 방법을 하라는 얘기죠. 네. 다만 과제 관리란에서 과제 등록을 할 때 과제 설명란에다가 이제 여러분들이 생각했던 점, 뭐 깨달은 점, 뭐 느낀 점, 뭐 알게 된 점, 뭐 어쨌든 좋은 점이든 써보세요. 그래서 과제를 한번 해보시고 그 다음에 영어로 된 워크시트를 하나를 줄게요. 그래서 그거 하나는 어쩔 수가 없네요. 그 인증샷을 하긴 해야 될 것 같습니다. 네. 한번 해보죠. 영어권 문화의 이해. 이게 여러분들이 생각하는 서양 문화의 이해와 여러분들이 아주 깊게 관련이 되어 있고, 그 다음에 여러분들 부모님 세대는 모르겠지만 조부모님 세대라면 옛날에 우울증이 어딨어? 다들 먹고 살기 힘들어서 그런 병도 없었지 라고 하시는 세대가 있기 때문에 그 세대와 이제 여러분들이 마주보고 앉아있다면 서로 다른 거를 보고 있는 거죠. 네. 그래서 우월감, 그 다음에 열등감, 이런 것들이 어떻게 연결이 되어 있는지 안다면 영어권 문화의 이해에 대해서도 여러분 자신의 culture, 본인 자신의 문화에 대해서 좀 더 잘 이해할 수 있을 것 같다는 생각이 들었어요. 본인 자신을 잘 이해한다면 남들이 본인이 오해하는 것도 또는 우월하게 봐주는 것인지 아니면 열등하게 봐주는 것인지 그런 선택을 차마 하더라도 모르겠어요. 우선 알아봅시다. 그리고 여러분들이 어떻게 생각하는지 알려주시면 되겠어요. 그리고 이 두 번째 비디오 여러분들이 혼자 보시고 이것까지 이제 가만히 앉아서 보기에는 우리 시간이 너무 아깝습니다. 같이 할 수 있는 시간이 한정되어 있으니까 여러분들이 각자 시간을 내서 보시고 느낀 점, 뭐 알게 된 점, 깨달은 점 이런 식으로 분리해서 이 비디오에서는 이런 점, 저 비디오에서는 저런 점 그래서 분리해서 알려주세요. 알았죠? 네, 그래요. 그럼 이번 한 주도 잘 보내고 건강하게 잘 지내고 이제 다음 주에 또 봅시다. 그럼 이만 마치겠습니다. Week 5 Lesson 3 마칩니다.